Hello, viewer, listener. Welcome to Break. This is Break for episode... This is going to be 43, I think? I can't count anymore. I've lost count of the episodes that we've done. But it's
going to have to be now.
I don't even know what episode we just shipped. I think we shipped 41. Mitchell will be 42. So yeah, this will be 43. Cool. Wow, we've done 43 episodes. That's crazy. Anyway, joining me is the host of that episode, Angelica Hill, co-host / degraded down to guest, Matthew Zanabria, and our actual guest, Cory O'Daniel. So that was a fun episode. I was like listening while I was editing shorts and uploading to social media and stuff that I need to do because we're a real podcast now. But that was a fun conversation. I feel like, Matt, you really got into it a lot. I feel like you just kind of went off.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I probably should have been a little bit more of a host and more reserved, but it's because I felt the pain of all of this in my career, and I watched companies die because of it, and I watched people be on call when they don't really have to be because we're not. Yeah, I lived through all of this, and it's very frustrating. So, and then all the while people are on stage talking about, oh my God, DevOps, yay, and just having a grand old time. But when they get back to work, they still throw things over the wall anyway. So it's a lot of performative bullshit that I've been seeing in the industry that I'm really. So yeah, I think I kind of agree with the DevOps is bullshit thing. That really just got me going. I'm sorry.
You shouldn't apologize. You shouldn't apologize for being passionate. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I just know how people are. People are people, and they like to. When you brought up the whole choosing a database or whatever, and I was like, oh, we already did that. We said choose Postgres, and we got in trouble for that. So yeah, remember those days, Kris? Yeah.
Yeah, people got mad at. Oh my God.
Can't get mad at Postgres. Yeah, I was just best piece of software ever written.
Yeah, until you have to run it at scale, then it's.
It's just when you have such strong opinions. People are always gonna pick them apart and clip what you say or whatever. And you're in the moment, so you're not always choosing the best words. You're kind of flowing with the conversations. You don't really get a chance to stop and think and choose words. You kind of fly off the cuff and what you really think and feel. But I don't know. I stand by everything I said for the most part. Not having listened back to it yet.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have the joy of listening to that.
Yeah. People are always gonna have opinions. I also feel like a lot of the conversations and the decision paralysis doesn't come from not actually being able to make a decision. It's just two engineers who want to prove that they're the top dog engineer, so they want people to choose their decision or their path forward. The amount of times that I'd have to force people to make a decision because there's two engineers who are trying to prove which one's more senior and which one's more technical and who's the technical leader of the team. And they're not actually thinking about the pros and cons, agnostic of who came up with it. They're like, oh, well, Bob said this and I like Bob and I want Bob to like me. So I'm going to pick Bob's solution. It's so not, this is definitely not from personal experience. But
your network's your net worth. You get enough people like you in the business, you can get them to make the decisions you want them to make.
I don't know.
We're creatures of persuasion.
I always find it very interesting, how decisions are made and where investment and time is made, because so often it is a combination of who is making the proposal, who is articulating their idea the best, as opposed to what is perhaps the right path forward. I think accurate, concise, clear communication is often the barrier to making the right decision, because some engineers just can't articulate their idea no matter how brilliant it is. And that stops people from investing in it. I've had engineers who have brought me ideas or said oh, we really need to work on this, or we really should do it this way. But they haven't been able to articulate to me in terms I can understand why. And then I've gone to some other person and be like, hey, this other person brought this idea. I don't really understand it. Can you explain it to me? And then it'll click for me. And they're saying the same thing, just in different ways.
Right.
I've learned through my career, communication matters. When I was at HashiCorp, I got in trouble for my communication all the damn time. All the time. I had managers in my DMs all the time. Your communication was bad here. You said this on a pull request, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And like that really shaped, both how I think about communication and how I like communicate. Primarily because my verbal communication is filled with like inflection and body language and whatever, right? Like that's just how I communicate. And when you hear me say the same thing verbally and written, it can be, said differently. Like I say okay a lot, but I don't say it as like, okay, like get the hell out of my face. I say like, okay, like acknowledged, and you put that in text and it comes off a different way. So the point I'm trying to make is when you're trying to like have these discussions and kind of show people that your problems matter, like why you should, invest in infrastructure or whatever, the communication that you choose is important because you can lose people. But also you kind of get to a point where you get a little bit pissed off and where people are ignoring the real problems, where I could understand why people want to drop the production database to get someone's attention because you're not listening to me otherwise. So like, I don't know. I'm on both sides of the camps. If you pull up to my house and be like, Matt, we're dropping the production database because nobody's listening and we need to do it, I'm be like, I'm in this car with you. Let's go.
Yeah. I like those little places where you can like really show someone why the decision is important. I worked at a number of e-commerce companies. I won't say which one, but there was a issue that I was raising where I'd said that, pretty much any engineer could get production write access to the database. And I was like, this is a problem. And they're like, well, they got to be able to troubleshoot it and look at their indexes. And it's like, yeah, these people are using an ORM. They don't know how to write SQL. They ain't tuning indexes. Like that's okay, sure. I was like, but the bigger problem is like, you can do some interesting things with the inventory, right? And so I argued for this a little bit, couldn't get anybody to trust me. And so then there was this thing that we had in our inventory that cost about $1.2 million. So I changed the price of it to $1 and bought it. Now I immediately returned it. It wasn't actually shipped to me. But the point was anybody could have done this. And the engineers having write access to this database, any of these machines could be compromised and somebody could have done this. And this would not have only lost a rare $1.2 million piece of inventory that happens to be unique, but we also didn't own that piece of inventory, which means that not only do we lose that revenue, we owe somebody some money on top of it. And it's just like, we have hundreds of engineers and almost 100 contractors. Do you trust every single person, right? Like not to get all zero trust, but it's just like, but it's one of those things. It's like, but they said they need it, but they said they need it, but they said they need it. And it's like, dude, there's other ways to be able to get in and troubleshoot and assess the performance of a database than giving everyone write access, right? And it took that like it wasn't me just being like, you could change the price. It's like, check this out. Look at this email I just got from production. I just bought a huge diamond for $1. And it's just like, whoa, like that just grinds people to a halt, right? And it's like, it's one of those things like sow a little chaos. Forward that to your boss's boss. You might get fired. But I mean, like sometimes like you really have to we're just so calcified and like doing business sometimes. Like you got to create a crack sometimes to be able to get people to look up. And I don't know if I dropped prod, but like if you can find a way. I'm not telling everybody to drop prod. Matthew is.
I can be swayed. I'm only human. Okay, I can be swayed to hit the button.
I think it's like fascinating that you kind of have to like have this line. I think you guys brought this up in the episode, but you have to have this line where like you can't make things too good, you can't make things too perfect, because if people don't have a tough time with something, they just kind of take it for granted and they're like, oh yeah, we don't need to fix anything, or we don't need to spend time on this. It just works. And it's like, yeah, because we put time and effort into making it work. You stop putting time and effort in, it's going to stop working. And then you're going to be mad and be like, why doesn't this thing work? It's like, well, because you didn't invest in making it work. So like you have to like make it slightly painful, not too painful, but a little painful, just to remind people like, yeah, we got to invest in this. Because so many companies have been at it. They've been like, oh, you don't need to focus on that thing. We need to prioritize all this other stuff. And I'm like, but this thing is at the core of what we're doing. Can't let that fall apart. But alas, many a company fall into that same trap. Many people fall into the same trap. I mean, look at New York City subway. Like, we neglected that thing for 60 years. And now people are like, why does it suck? It's like, what do you mean, why does it suck? We like needed to invest a ton of money into it for decades and we just didn't. Like, what do you think was going to happen?
Yeah. Day 2. Whew. Turns out it's important.
Nobody thinks about any of this stuff. Well, no, I can't say nobody thinks about it. People are thinking about it. It's the people that are living it every day at maybe like, I'm going to say the lowest levels, but I don't mean that in a like pejorative way. I mean that in like, the people that are making decisions in the hierarchical sort of way. Exactly. The people that are making the decisions for the company aren't seeing that pain day to day. They're not at that level to see it. They don't walk by the subway system every day. They don't push to prod every single day. So they don't care or feel. Maybe they do care if they would be aware of it, but since they're not aware of it, they don't care. And that sucks. And then making that case is always what I kind of dislike about it is the case is always an uphill like battle or bottom up, right? Like I, as like the lower one in this hierarchy working on the system day to day, have to make a case upwards to my management chain for them to care about something that's going to affect their business, really our business, but like really their business because they're more officers of the company. And it's like, if you were really a good officer of the company, you would care about this stuff and set sort of a tone about it and say, hey, listen, we are a company where we do 20% time operational efficiency, and that's how we work here. So always make sure we're kind of cleaning up our messes and blah, 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 because we know the value of it. But when they don't set that, and when they say, hey, feature, like you're just hurting your own business. And now you're putting more work on the people that are at that lower level living a day to day to come up and be like, well, if you had a problem, you should have raised it. Well, it's like, if there's only 24 hours in a day, 8 of which I'm supposed to be working. You want me to spend most of that time drafting a case for you or actually keeping the business up? Because I can't do both, and it sucks.
Yeah. It's rough when you have to like argue for the value of something that affects you every single day and like people don't listen. And that's why I've always just been like, dude, just throw a stone, like crack a window, like just do it. And I mean, if you do it and you succeed, and sometimes you have to spend time outside of your work hours to do it, but it's like, if you do it and succeed, you're not going to get your wrist slapped. Now, if you go in there and just like mess stuff up, you're like, well, shit, I didn't know what I was doing. Turns out this is a lot harder than it was. You don't want to spend your 8 hours of the day doing that. But I mean, like it's just so hard, like being in that role, like where you don't have the agency to make the decision because you're just getting mandated and kind of reactive to all the things that are happening in the business, but also just like not having that, like to be able to have the mouthpiece or the impact radius to like kind of reach more people than are just on your team. But also it's hard to get buy-in from the bottom up many times. And just showing work I think is the way to get there.
One thing I will say though, it was really nice. This was a little therapy session for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. This was good. So I was happy to be here on this episode. I didn't know what to expect at first. Honestly, I didn't usually sometimes I do a little bit more research up front before we record and I have more questions prepared. But I was like, you know what? Let's just go into it. Like, because when we talked earlier, I was like, oh, Cory has similar thoughts to DevOps that I do. Maybe we'll have a fun conversation. And I'm glad we just kind of let it roll.
It was very fun. I loved it.
Yeah, no, it was great. So thanks for letting me kind of do that. And I'm curious, listener, if you're listening to this episode and this break episode, I'm curious of what the listeners. I will open up communication. Go to my website, get my email me, let me know how you think about it. I will open up some line of communication. I'm curious to hear your take on it, especially since I kind of rambled in many places.
CC me on that. I think it's interesting with it is like, I mean, a lot of what I talk about is a mantra. I talk about this, a lot of podcasts, and this is honestly a lot of this conversation is what most of my sales calls feel like. And it's funny because I have people on sales calls be like, this sales call felt like a therapy session. I'm just always like, yes, and then like I close a deal shortly after. It's because this is real pain that is felt by many organizations. And something else that like really drives me wild is, when I wrote the DevOps is bullshit article, I ignored Adam Savage's words and I did go in and read the comments. I don't know if anybody knows. Adam Savage says never read the comments. I went and read them. But what's funny is like, and there's a lot of people that agree, there's a lot of people that don't. But the funny thing is with the people that always disagree with my point or, with something I'll say on LinkedIn or whatever is they're on a high horse. It's like, well, we don't have that problem at Google. And I'm like, oh, geez, just having all the bajillions of dollars of Google and 8,000 employees. It must be so easy to solve problems there. But it's just like most people aren't Silicon Valley. like, I'm sorry. I know that we spend so much time with our head, like literally in the clouds, but like there's 470,000 tech companies in the United States. You know, all those ones that survived the .com bubble explosion that you look at and you're like, that's a legacy company. They're still very much a tech company, but they're not Silicon Valley. And there's so many people that are in here. And it's funny, like you'll see people like, oh, you're just not culturing right. And it's just like, dude, like it took your business 15 years to get there. Like these people are trying to figure out like how to move faster and how to make this better. And it's just like, well, you're not culturing it right. And it's just like, it's such a dismissive way of like looking from like, we've gotten to where you're trying to get to. And it's just like, well, you're just not doing it right. And it's just like, nah, it's not that they're not doing it right. It's that these organizations are just so fundamentally different. It's hard to figure out how to navigate it on a path that is going to be good for the business and good for the developers and operations folk. And I don't know, I'd say if you're one of those ops people, you're like, everything that they've said today, that's not how it is. Look at your organization and think about your organization. And then I'm just going to pick a name out of a hat. I don't know what it's like there, but like, look at a Macy's, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like grab a company that's huge, that has a ton of, go look at an insurance company. Do you think that they have the same culture, technical prowess, and buy-in as a HashiCorp? No, they don't. They have the same constraints, and they might even have higher compliance and legal responsibilities that they need to adhere to. And they're going to struggle to get there because they can't get past some of this rudimentary shit. And it's just like, I just see so many people like kind of talk down to the people that haven't gotten there yet. And it's like, it must be so nice to be up on that horse, like looking down at people being like, ha ha ha, peasant, just like trotting away. That's what it feels like a lot of times. It's just like, man, it's just like, why didn't you just do exactly what we did? It's like, we don't have 80 million engineers. That's why, an infinite budget.
Right. One part of the episode that I actually wish we would have went a little bit in on, you mentioned like the culture doesn't predate the tools, like the tools predates the culture. I thought that was a pretty interesting take because thinking about that, I feel like that's correct. You know, we say like the Bronze Age, the Stone Age, or whatever. Like, yeah, that was defined based on what we did during that time. We didn't like start off with a culture and say, yes, we're entering up in 5 minutes. Bronze Age is starting. Let's go do it. You know, the tools of our time dictated what we were doing, right? Even like looking at like the Industrial Revolution and what like all of the differences of how we were manufacturing and tools around us shaped that generation, shaped that culture. And I thought that was pretty fascinating to kind of note and talk about. Because in this industry, yeah, we tend to think of it backwards in a way where we're like, someone goes up on stage and is like, this is the operator pattern. It's like, whoa, the operator pattern. This is CI/CD. It's like, whoa, what's CI? But we don't spend enough time talking about like kind of the implementation of that and how the tools are working. That's why you ask your average Kubernetes person what an operator is, they have no idea. They don't know what the hell it is. They're just like, it's the controller thing, right? It's like, okay, man, can you explain it though, for real? Like what actually is it? It's a controller plus CRD. Thanks, great. But I think if we started talking more about the tools and how we're using them in a way, that would be more beneficial than saying like coming up with a buzzword first to describe it, you know?
Yeah. I think at the same time, like I think the tools have to come before you can kind of discover your culture. I think the other thing that like in the infinite amounts of trade-offs, like I've also seen companies that realize that and they try to buy their way out of it. And it's like buying your way out of it doesn't work either, right? Just like going back to that metallurgy experiment, like it took tough effort to figure out what it was. And then you had a tool and then people were like, whoa, this is valuable. And then it became a culture of metallurgy or whatever, right? And it's like, you can't just go and buy 55 things and be like, we did it. We're DevOpsing now, right? It's like, it is a hard journey, right? And you know, it's almost like it's like vision tools culture in my mind. Like you have to have an idea of like where you want to go and you have to be realistic about it. Like there's so many companies that are just like, oh, we're going to be the next Google or AWS or Netflix. And it's like, you guys sell kitty litter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, It's important. What you're doing is important, but also like, like you're not going to attract PhDs, right? Like for this role. So, Yeah, it's like it is so hard to figure out like how to get there, but it is funny. It's like everything in human civilization starts with tools, and then we build culture around it. Like, hey, did we all just start out in cities? We roll out of Eden or wherever you think we came from. I crawled out of the water and be like, we should build Los Angeles. And it's like, no. Like, we just killed each other for a while because we didn't even trust each other. And then we're like, if we didn't kill all these people and we all kind of like shared food a bit, that'd be a little nice, right? And then we like planted some things, right? Like we were individuals in the little communities, like we grew that culture based off of the things that we did. And then we've developed the culture of like, hey, I want to live in a melting pot with a bunch of different cultures coming together. Like, we didn't just pop out of the ground and be like, that's what we're doing. Now we just got to figure out how to stop killing each other and like plant some stuff to get there. It's like we do all these small things. I think that's really important for DevOps. You've got to start with something small, and you got to build on it and build on it and build on it. And like, that work is going to make your culture. Like, that's how you get. There is a culture of DevOps, and you have to build it with tools and effort to get there. You can't just, office space it into existence.
Yeah, I think this is where like people build things precisely backwards. Like, I remember this post I saw where a whole bunch of people that were like laughing at it, being like, oh, look at this waste. This is what happens when you're a communist or whatever about China, because they just had this image of like a subway station in the middle of a forest. People were like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And then they showed it like 5 years later, and there's an entire city built in that same spot. Because it's like, yeah, you got to lay down the infrastructure first. Like, there's some things you need to do first, and then you can build everything else around it. And like, that's how America got built. We just started running railroads everywhere, and then people built towns around railroad stations because they're like, oh, there's a train station. I can get other places. We can get resources easily. And like, now people don't really want to do it that way. They're like, oh, well, we'll wait to build the railroad until later. We can put the trains in after. And it turns out that like, sometimes you can't, and even when you can, it's just exorbitantly expensive to do. And I feel like that's the same thing with like so many different projects. Like, I come across this a lot with databases, where there's a lot of companies, like I'll go into a company and be like, yeah, like off-the-shelf databases aren't really doing what you want. They're like really wasteful, really obnoxious to operate. Like, you're getting to a scale where you probably need to do something like specialized with your data management, and people are just like, no, we'll just wait. And then they suffer for years and years and years and build up all of this operational knowledge and all of this engineering knowledge about how to use a specific database, and then they outgrow it completely, and then they're like, oh crap, now we have to go build something custom, but we have no idea how to do that, and none of our engineers had to know how to do that. We don't have any expertise in it because we didn't take the time to do that when we were small scale and could figure out all of the stuff, and now we got to build it when it's high stakes, and if we make a mistake, everything's going to blow up. So yeah, people just really they're like, let me just buy the thing, let me just take it off the shelf, like, we'll worry about this problem later, we don't need to worry about it now. And I'm like, did you do an analysis of if you need to worry about it now, or did you just assume you don't need to worry about it now? Are you just assuming that you can just get all your tools off the shelf, or did you actually sit down and be like, what tools should we get off the shelf, what tools should we build ourselves, what expertise do we need in-house, what expertise can we outsource? And none of these discussions are being had by companies. And I think that's why operations is so hard for so many people, because there's so many tools and so many things that people are trying to sell to you, and you have to actually know what your goals are and what you want to achieve if you want to use those tools effectively, and if you want to build the operational expertise you need to actually function a modern software company. And people just don't want to do that. They're like, no, that sounds hard. It's like, yeah, that's hard, but that's your fucking job, so do it. Like, what?
I mean, I didn't even need to hear that, because you and I speak about this. we talk about, we have conversations about this off the record. So I already knew where you were coming from this. And yeah, I wish more people would start building purpose-built tools. And this is where we can take a page out of like the trade industries, where they do build their purpose-built tools, templates, and little gizmo gadgets. I was trying to say both those words at the same time. Little gadgets and templates and stuff that they use on the job. And in software, we're like, nah, library, please. Give me library. I want library. I can't be bothered to write a for loop. How dare I? But AI is starting to kind of help people make these small tools. I'm not saying that they're doing it or whatever. I'm just saying like people are starting to be like, oh, I can just Claude Code and be like, hey, Claude Code, give me a small little tool that does this very fine-grained thing. And it'll spit out a pretty decent version of that you can use. So the mindset, I guess, is starting to maybe shift, or maybe people are just thinking about it a little bit more like, oh, I can create a tool here. And hopefully that leads into people taking that more broadly and starting to build their own stuff more, rather than just importing libraries and whatnot. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to do any work as software engineers. We're just so allergic to like just building things sometimes, which is funny because then you go on like tech social media and it's like, if you're not a builder, you're not going to make it. Like build. Look at me, startup, this and that. Y Combinator. Yeah. It's like, what are you actually building, man? Like, are you actually building or not? Because I can't tell anymore.
I think people too make the mistake of thinking that things are like a lot harder than they are. It's like, it's not about how difficult it is. It's about the amount of time you have to invest to do something well. Like any of the things you want to build, like they're all buildable things. Like operating systems are buildable things. Database management systems are buildable things. Like all of the stuff is buildable. You just have to be willing to like invest the time in it. And I'm still not convinced that anything is specifically harder to build than anything else. Like, yeah, building an operating system is like a large scale endeavor, but so is like most of the stuff that we're trying to build commercially. Like there's a lot of complexity in most of the things that we do. And I think a lot of time people just want to like wave off that complexity and like how hard that can be. Like Angelica, with what your team at the New York Times does, where you're like delivering emails and push notifications to people. And it's like, oh, that seems like a pretty easy thing to do until you like sit down and think about it. And then you're like, oh, actually, wait, no, this is actually, even for a relatively small scale, a very complicated thing to do. And there's a lot of choices you have to make about how do you build that infrastructure. And it's very easy to get wrong.
Yeah, very, very easy to get wrong. And that was a very long build versus buy discussion. And spoiler alert, we've rebuilt our platform from scratch 3 times in the last 8 years. Do what you will with that information.
That's also something though, like as long as you're not rebuilding it because you didn't like the language, right? Like, I mean, that's one of the things. It's like, I feel like we let like a lot of business calcify. It's like, ooh, we got this thing and it works. And then it'll just like sit there forever. Right. It's like maintenance is important on all this stuff, but it's like a rewrite for the sake of a rewrite, not a good idea. But like, like, hey, we had to rewrite this to like scale the business more. It's like I think it makes sense. Like I said earlier on the main show, like when we redid Mass Driver, we were like, we sat down and we're like, okay, like everybody wants to run this thing on prem. But like, we're going to have to sit down and rewrite almost the entire product because we wrote it to be distributed. We're using 26, 28 different AWS services. So it's just like, but that was a rewrite that we had to do to make the business profitable, right? And it's like, I feel like a lot of teams are afraid of rewriting sometimes. And then other teams are extremely gung-ho about it. Right? It's just like doing it for the right reason, given that it yields benefits to the business makes sense. But yeah, when it's like, we really don't like Ruby 2. Let's convert this thing to Python. It's like, is that the part that makes money? Let's maybe hold off on that.
Yeah. People love saying like, find the best tool for the job. And it's just like, I don't know. First you got to define what the job is. And then we just released a new blog post yesterday that bangs on picking the right tool for the job, and it's a testy one. No pun intended. It's about CI/CD, and my argument was that infrastructure as code is not a good fit for CI/CD, like as the place where it executes. So like behind the scenes, like, you know, like what Mass Driver is an OCI registry that happens to execute workflows very similar to, you know, as like a version control system would execute something through like GitHub Actions. And what's interesting is like when you kind of change that paradigm of like where those executions are happening from, and they're happening from the registry versus happening from just vague source code, you're able to tap into a lot of really, really interesting places. But my point in the thing is like, we say we pick the right tool for the job all the time. And the article is like, why do we run like Terraform and Helm and all this jazz like in CI/CD? It's like, well, it's because it was there. Like that's why we did it. Nobody sat and was like, is this actually like the right execution model? Like, is this from the right point of view of like an artifact store? Or was it just like, fuck, like we got other stuff to do that's right there. But I feel like that's just so common, like too, to just like, a lot of times people will reach for the tool that they know, which is great because they can get them to move quickly. But it's so hard because it's like the tool that you don't know might actually be the right tool for the job, right? And it's always that weight of like,
am I chasing a shiny bauble, or am I making the right choice for the business? Is hard to be true to yourself around that one sometimes. But also, like when you dig in on the tools and you're like, ooh, the shiny bauble is actually the right choice. It's always frustrating when you present it to your engineering partners. Like, hey, I put together this RFC. Like, this is the way we're going to do it. And it's just like, why are we choosing the new thing? And it's like, can you read the RFC? Like, it actually makes more sense for the business. It's so hard, to like. And again, this goes back to like the idea of engineering. If you're sitting there as an engineer building a bridge, you're not going to be like, well, all these railroads from like the 1800s to now were built with wood. So like it's laying around all over the place. You can just chop it down. You don't have to bang it out of a rock and melt it. Like that's a pain in the ass. But like as an engineer, you do pick the right tool for the job. You say, hey, this is a suspension bridge. Okay. Like we're not going to be just like running like I-bars all over the place. Like you think through the problem and you pick the right tool for the job. And as web developers, engineers, like we generally aren't given that time, and it's hard to take that time. But I think it's something that if we did as an organization, I think it's one of those things where it's like, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We have that all over our world, but people look at it as like, oh, are you over engineering it? And it's like, sorry, what was the last word in that question? Or the over are we not engineering it? Because that's what most of us are doing, is we're just not engineering. We're just doing shit. And so I don't know. Yeah, that trade-off is so hard.
Yeah, it's all about balance. I think people too, like when you say, oh, the best tool for the job, I don't think the best tool is usually the tool people want to use. Like, are you building a website? The best tool for the job is probably PHP. Like, it's definitely PHP. Are you going to build it in Node? It's not Node, it's PHP, but you're going to use Node anyway. Or you're going to use Python, or you're going to use Ruby, or you're going to use whatever. Even though like 80% of the web is run on PHP, you're like, no, we don't need to use that thing that runs everything. We'll use something else. And it's like, okay, well, then you're not really using the best tool for the job, are you? Man, I'm really on a PHP kick now. I've fallen in love with PHP again, and it's great.
You fall in love with PHP, and then you get a Lamborghini. That's how that works.
Yeah, I mean, only one of the biggest websites on the planet uses PHP at its core, so it's fine. Although I wouldn't build a messaging system on PHP. I'd probably use something different, like
Yeah. Well,
Erlang.
spoiler alert. My first rebuild of the platform of the 3 that I managed was changing it from PHP to Go.
Yeah, I mean, PHP is not a good language to write a messaging server, and
No, it's not. No, it's not at all. And that is definitely how I will explain my decision now. And it definitely wasn't because I was like, I just want it in Go.
You're just, and you know what? Sometimes that you're like, I want to learn this new thing, so that does make it the best tool for the job because I want to learn it. And
I want to learn this new language, so I'm going to make my team rewrite our entire platform in it. Obvious answer to my learning need.
I mean, when things align, that's how it works.
There was
right?
an opportunity. The engineering team wasn't liking PHP, and I just threw Go in the ring. Like, it's fine.
And we've stuck with Java.
it. We've rewritten it twice more, and we've stayed with Go. So I'm very proud of that. But who knows? I'll probably rewrite it again in a couple of months, and then I don't know what language they'll use.
No.
I mean, Go.
No. You don't say Go on this podcast anymore.
Go. No. Or even better, because I know Kris loves this. Golang.
Oh,
We're gonna write everything in Golang.
Where's that remove button?
Yeah. How do I do something with this? Please. How do I click buttons? Oh man.
Angelica has left the meeting. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Now we can talk. Regretted rewrite is a very interesting.
I love it though.
No, I love it too. I mean, I love it because it forces you to actually think about what's really important about your software, right? Like, what do you really need? It's no different than cleaning out your house or your kitchen and reorganizing and like, okay, we make tacos here. What do I actually need? Do I need this big oven? No, I don't actually make anything in the oven. Like, like it's just thinking about what your true interface is, what your true product is really helpful, and rewrites really pull that out.
Yeah. Like, do we actually need 17 microservices? No.
Yeah, I'm glad to see the like the rise of the monolith again, because people didn't really think through what the cloud native quote unquote architecture gave us. It gave us a bunch of latency. It gave us network hops. It gave us things that we didn't really think of.
Distributed transactions.
Distributed tracing, which, you know.
Importantly, it gave us very large cloud bills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that thinking about this, even in the form of rewrite, is super important. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. I mean, the answer was Rust, by the way. If in case you were wondering what the answer was. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, rewrite everything in Rust. I was really just kidding. But like rewriting, you should think about like, what does it look like? Periodically, you should think about what does it look like if I were to just start over? Like, and what could I do? What actually matters? What interfaces can I change? What breaking changes can I make? It's just healthy to go to think about that every now and then. I'm not saying do it every week, but like 2 years. Hey, you know, we've been using this Go SDK for the last 2 years this way. We could probably regenerate this a bit. I don't really like how this types are laid out. I don't really like how errors handled and da-da-da. You should be thinking about that. Otherwise, you're no different than just a maintenance person. Like you're just a maintenance person that actually doesn't engineer anything. You just change things, right? You just fix whatever's broken, but you don't actually engineer new systems. Right. And I'm not disparaging that. That's fine, right? People make whole careers out of that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but don't call yourself a software engineer when all you do is maintain existing systems and never create or engineer or even change like, you know, systems that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And don't deeply couple.
I'm gonna get in trouble.
Don't.
I'm gonna get in trouble.
And don't deeply couple your architecture with a very specific vendor, because then it's really difficult when you don't like that vendor anymore.
If you say a name of vendor and I know who it is,
no, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not that spicy. Not quite yet. I'm still. I'm still at my current job. And I would rather voluntarily leave.
By the time this ships, you will not be at your current job anymore.
Oh, so. True. Yeah, but you know, I might go back one day.
No, just kidding.
No, I'm doing the classic leave and come back later at a far more senior position. That's the career plan.
The hop.
Yeah. The hop.
Oh, yeah. You could just get it out right now. Like, you want to be VP or something? What's going on?
I mean, think bigger. Come on, Matthew.
We just give you the easy path.
She needs to be the chief product officer. What are you talking about?
CEO, Kris. Come on, CEO.
Do you want to be CEO? Like,
genuinely, from the age, I'm not even joking about this. You can ask my parents or my friends. From the age of 12, my career aspiration was I want to be the CEO of the New York Times. Oh. Like, that was my dream. Yeah. Okay, and then my first job was at the New York Times. So I was on the way, but then I realized corporate America doesn't promote me. So I need to leave and come back.
Leave, start your own massively popular newspaper, return.
Yeah, so now it's shifted. Now I'm like, I want to lead an organization that does good in the world. That's the new vision. So get ready. I might recruit you all. Or I might knock on your doors as you build your empires and go, hey, I'm here. I have a brain. It's ready to work. I'll learn DevOps.
I mean, you are a brilliant producer. So that part, you're doing great there. Helping to build Fallthrough and Break into fantastic podcasts they are. Anyway.
We should,
Break is supposed to be short. We're at 40 minutes, so I think we got to end it there. Thank you, all of you, for joining for this episode of our after show, and thanks for recording the main show. And now I gotta do an outro. So, yeah.
Okay. Enjoy the outro, life.
Don't make me laugh while I'm doing it. Oh my God, Angelica. Anyway,
it's so etched into my brain.
So, viewer, listener, what'd you think of that? Did you like our conversation? It went a little everywhere. A little spice. I guess a little more spice than the episode. Fewer expletives than the main episode. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I might bleep them all out, or that episode might just be marked explicit. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But let us know your thoughts and your feelings on social media and in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see you later. This episode of Break featured Kris Brandow, Angelica Hill, Matthew Sanabria, and Cory O'Daniel. Break is produced by Kris Brandow, and our beats are by Breakmaster Cylinder. And we're done.
Bye!
Breakmaster Cylinder. I haven't heard that since the Reply All days. Ooh.